This is Garden of English. I'm Tim Freitas, and today's quick question is, what do I do to teach the new writing multiple choice questions on the AP exam? And I'm going to just try to give you a quick tip on how you can actually use those in your classroom without just having to assign multiple choice ad nauseum. So, as I shrink myself down, I want to just talk about why these new writing multiple choice questions were even built into the exam. And the reason why is because the AP Language and Composition course, being a composition course, is one that is supposed to actually focus on the writing process. And one of these things that's involved in the writing process is revision. So these questions, these reading like a writer questions, are essentially meant to move people to make sure that they're allowing the full writing process and revision process to happen during the AP exam, as opposed to, or at least I think this is the case, as opposed to just doing a bunch of timed writings, right? Now, I'm not speaking for the College Board on this as a fact. I'm just saying I think that's what we're trying to do here. Or, sorry, what they are trying to do here. There's no we in that. I think that's what they're trying to do, and I think it's a good idea. And the reason why is because we want to make sure that kids know a lot about the writing process as they go into college. Now, these can't be called revision questions, of course, though, because you revise your own work. So we're reading like a writer, but that's okay. So anyway, what I have up right here in front of me on my screen is the course and exam description. And this is actually page 119 of that. And this is where we see that kind of, hey, the following passage is a draft, okay? And when we have this following passage being a draft, we have all of these multiple choice questions. And what we can do here is I'm going to just encourage you that when you actually create your, when you create your peer editing guides, or when you do revision with your students, if you actually practice with these multiple choice questions, try to make sure that you take down what the stems are and put them in a document on your own so that you can actually create peer editing guides that focus on the skills of that unit, where you can revise the stems so that you can create questions for your kids to answer, whether to revise their own work or to actually evaluate the work of others in a peer editing situation. So let me give you an example, right? In question 9 here, it says, which of the following sentences, if placed before sentence 1, would both capture the audience's interest and provide the most effective introduction to the topic of the paragraph? Well, I know that this is for the piece that's above, but it would be very easy to say to this on a peer editing guide, right? Does the first sentence of your partner's piece actually capture the audience interest and relate to the topic? Yes or no? Check the box, right? And then for a peer editing guide, you could say, if no, what could the author do in order to better that, right? Or provide a new sentence that you think would work better, right? Or could work as well. And if the person says yes, right? Yes, this sentence does this on a peer editing guide. What you can then say is, good, explain what makes it engaging for the audience. There you have it, right? We've taken this particular stem and we're applying it to our classroom without actually just assigning a multiple choice question. We're just assigning what the question is asking, right? So then if I go to the next one, it says, in sentence 2 reproduced below, the writer wants an effective transition from the introductory paragraph to the main idea of the passage. Which of the following versions of the underlined text best achieves this purpose? Well, at this point, you can actually, in your, if you were doing a peer editing checklist, you could say, does the author provide a clear transition from the background information in the intro paragraph to the argument itself? Yes or no? And then if the answer is no, once again, please provide a sentence or two that could provide that transition. If the answer is yes, have students mark, right? The author transitions from this to this. There we have it, okay? If you want a student to evaluate his or her own work, what you could say is, write out why you think you've effectively transitioned and circle the transitioning language that you provided there to get into your main argument. And if the kids can't do that, they'll know that they'll have to change that sentence itself. So we could take these stems and we could turn them into really any type of question that we want for a peer editing guide. So I know that a lot of times teachers ask for peer editing guides and they're like, does anybody have this? Well, you can make this yourself just with the stems of these questions. Okay. Next, right? We have, I'm going to go down to number 11. It says, in sentence 3, which of the following versions of the underlined text best establishes the writer's position on the main argument of the passage? Well, that's a great question to ask on a peer editing guide. What is the writer's main argument of the passage? And then provide one sentence or two sentences that proves it. Or if you want a kid to revise, you could say, what is your main argument? Provide your sentence that you think says it, or write a more clear argument sentence, which would be basically our claim or a more well-developed thesis. And at that point, the student will know, oh, I have to revise my thesis here to make it a little bit better. So we can use these sentences, these stems, as ways for us to create our peer editing guides and whatnot. Now, another thing that you can do as well, I'm going to switch over tabs here. This is AP Classroom. Now, I can't show what's going to actually pop up here, but I would like to just point out, if you were to filter by question type here, okay, and I go to MCQ composition, and then I've only done Unit 1 so far, boom, right? When all of these questions come up and I preview these questions, what's going to happen is I can now know that all of the stems that I look at are for skills in Unit 1. So if I just want my kids to revise based on skills in Unit 1, I have now searched for that. Now let's say I've done Unit 1 and I've done Unit 2. Here we go. And then if I want, I can even bring it all the way down to each EK. And I could say I've covered this essential knowledge with my kids so far. Let me get different stems for that EK from actual questions, and now I can turn them into my own guide. So that's really the easiest way to use those writing questions in your classroom. And I hope that was kind of quick and easy to consider because you have a lot of these great questions that can go into really excellent peer editing guides and really excellent self-reflection guides at your fingertips in AP Classrooms. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions about these revision questions, or if you have any other great ideas about how to apply them in your classroom, why don't you just put those comments right down below? And like I said, if you have questions, if you put those down there, I will try to address them in another quick questions if we need to. But you all have a great day, and thanks for watching.